Well, hello all, Game Methuselah. It's day 247 of the lockdown. Oh, wait a minute, sorry. I don't think it's been that long, but it feels that way. First off, I'd like to say a shout out and thank you to all my patrons. You've been keeping me in coffee through this. That helps. Allows me to do my videos a little easier. It allows me to paint more, and the painting more is really good because at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, I'm up here painting, and it's been fun. But what I want to talk to you today about is something that I keep seeing on the internet, and people keep talking about it, and people keep asking me about it, and that's the idea of running an evil campaign. Okay, don't do it. And there's a real reason why I say to that, and of course that's why I'm doing the video, so I can go through these fabulous reasons with you. First of all, I've run lots of evil characters. I was young once, and I wanted to be different than the rest and run evil. Now, my very first evil event happened in 1976 up in San Jose at a game convention you may have heard me mention previously. It was the rollout of the Ral Partha miniatures. I was working at the military shop. We had gone up there with my friend Richard and Mark Sexton. It was just fabulous. All weekend, all Dungeons and Dragons, you name it, we were doing it. I ran in Blackmore, Dave Arneson's dungeon. I was really excited because I was a budding DM. I was known to be really good, and I wanted to run with one of the masters. And I did. Now, before we started running, we all decided, Mark, Richard, and myself, that we would run evil characters. Now, there really wasn't evil in 76. There was law, neutral, or chaotic. So we were running chaotic characters. Now, beforehand, Richard decided to go to this little place, this little button maker, and they were making buttons for people with whatever piece of art you wanted to use. And Richard drew 3 little roguish thieves with their little cloaks and hoods and a dagger. It was not the greatest art. Somewhere around I have the button. I think I've even shown it. And we all wear our buttons, and on the bottom it says, "I'm chaotic." Long story short on this, we ran into Dave Arneson's Blackmore with our evil characters. Party 16, 18, something like that. Everyone in one character apiece because everyone there wanted to play with the designer of the game. Now, we told Dave Arneson that we were running evil characters, and he played the game accordingly. We had to drink some elf wash to get in, which did damage to us, but we had to hide it so nobody noticed. And fortuitously for us, nobody noticed we were evil. Now, we ran at the back of the party with the mule and a neutral dwarf player of somebody else we did not know. And the mule had the treasure, and we'd gone through a bunch of rooms, collected a bunch of wealth and fabulous magic, whatever. And it was all piled on the mule. And we got into this last room, and there was a giant library. And in the middle was a podium with this big tome bound in human skin and a big skull on it, which said, "Don't open me." Now, what does that mean that's going to happen? You guessed it. The other characters in the party said, "Let's open that tome and find out what happens." So they did. And suddenly wraiths and spooks and ghosts and spirits came rising out of the other books in the library and started to attack the party. What did we do as good evil characters? We closed the door. We had the treasure on the mule. My friend Mark, who had a wizard, hold portal, which means they couldn't open the door up under normal circumstances. I was an evil priest. I looked at our little neutral dwarf and I said, "Unless you want a finger of death," have a finger of death, I could cause a minor wound. I think he knew that also. But I said, "You're either with us or you're against us." And he said, "I'm with you. You have the treasure. I get an equal share. We're all good." So we marched back out, leaving the rest of the adventurers to battle off the wraiths and stuff. They couldn't run. They were stuck. Of the remaining party, what I understand is 3 people made it out alive with their characters. That's a lot of fatalities there. Now, they did not think we were witty or brilliant or fabulous to run these unusual evil characters. They thought we were jerks. And they went all over the convention for the remainder of that time talking about this experience of these crummy SOBs who got their party trashed. Most people don't like to see evil. Now, I don't really mind it. I had a very high level evil wizard. He was 17th or 18th level at the end, which was very high level for original D&D. He had a magical sword that made him detect lawful good. I loved it. And it had a purpose to slay paladins. Even better. The problem is it has a big int in IQ, which meant that if I ran into a lawful paladin, it was likely the sword might take me over and force me to attack. That wasn't good, because my friend Don was one of his first adventures, and he invited us all to play, and I ran math, and he had his paladin introduce us to his campaign, his personal role-playing player character. And I didn't know Don that well. I mean, this was maybe one of the first or second times I'd actually met him, and I was afraid, oh crud, I'm about to draw my sword and murder my friend's character. Fortuitously for all, I was able to control the sword and not kill him outright. Now, not sure that was not the best thing for an evil character to do. Maybe I should have just slayed him and whatever, but I was not wanting as a human being to ruin the experience that we were about to have in Don's campaign. I later talked to him about it. We've obviously discussed all these things over the many, many decades we've been friends. To run evil is difficult. Now, in my recent campaign with Craig, who ran a really great campaign, he had a situation where an evil essence of something like the most evil dragon had taken over the liege lord of this land, and all the evil priests that had existed in this great city were now getting put under the thumb of another evil, and they didn't like it. So it was one of those things they were willing to help out the adventurers, i.e. us, find what we needed to kill this dragon, and then allow maybe them to sort of step in and they become the big dog. I was running a neutral bard. Now, this is what I think most people should do when you run a campaign. If you're a DM and your players chomp to run an evil campaign, just say, sure, evil campaigns are great for the DM. Not only do you have all the evil monsters to use, you have an opportunity now to paint blink dogs and key rin and celestials, fabulous angels of power, because now the good guys hate them too. In fact, everybody hates their characters, and that makes it so easy for the DM. The reason I suggest that you don't actively do it, if they want to run evil, let them run evil. It's perfectly reasonable. I mean, I ran in games with people who had evil characters, and it worked. Because most of the time they didn't do things that were evil. When they did, my characters that were good would obviously say, if you do that, I'm going to run you through or disintegrate you or whatever it is, because I can play my good characters, well, in character also. Neutral characters are way better to run if you run evil. Like I said in my friend Craig's campaign, as we proceeded down the game, I kept saying, well, wait a second, everybody's evil, and the poor city is under control and being decimated by all these bad guys. And there really is no one else to take their place because the good king and the good nobles and all have been getting murdered by these evil characters. There wasn't going to be anybody left. Well, wait a second. I'm brilliant. I'm neutral. I mean, I'm looking out for me, as like all good neutral characters are doing, but I'm willing to make the effort to rise up and make the world workable for everybody else. I negotiated with evil and dark side and even eventually devils and demons and said, hey, look, you can have a voice within the city and we'll just let people decide what they want. Now, they're all thinking, yeah, awesome. We have somebody we can corrupt and become evil. And that may have been the plan. But of course, I was going to let all the good people be involved too. So good, evil, it doesn't matter. We'll allow everybody to be there. But of course, I'm going to have to run the city because no one else will understand this or allow this to happen. And of course, being neutral, I'm willing to do it. I'm not evil, and I'm not a zealot good either. So let me be in charge. Now, as this ran, you can sort of see where it goes. I never became evil, and Craig never pushed the point. In fact, once the campaign was finished, we ended and we never got to really see the political machinations other than the fact that, well, I was king. I keep saying it would be a great story for him to readdress in some point and come back where I have become some horrible, corrupted individual still thinking he's doing the right thing, and everybody's evil. It's kind of how the world is. Everybody who's really evil, save psychopaths and a few really people who are insane, they usually think they're the good guys. I mean, Nazi Germany maybe one of the most evil regimes that ever was, at least in modern times, had a belt buckle that said Gott mit uns, that their troops wore. How is that possible? Joe Stalin, his arch enemy on the other side and an ally of the United States in World War II, had to be one of the most evil people you could ever meet. When they took over and captured Poland, well, Uncle Joe just had every Polish officer killed. Why? Well, I can't risk that these Polish officers might decide to basically rise up and make a revolt in this portion of Poland that I now control. Hey, I'm just looking out for the Soviets, and that's my job. And that's kind of the point. If you open any newspaper or you watch the TV or go online, currently, there's plenty of evil to go around. You see it, and I see it, and everybody sees it. The question, of course, is always in perspective. What I think is evil, you might not think is evil. Now, are we wrong? Maybe. We might both be misguided. I mean, in a world where 24 hours a day you are bombarded with propaganda from both sides of a political spectrum, it's hard sometimes to judge who's got the best interest of you at heart. And that's always a problem. But none of these people might be evil. They just might be neutral on another side. This happens on all situations in history. It doesn't take a whole lot of consideration to look at it and say evil things happen. I mean, people are out there and bad things are happening all the time. So I always tell people, when you're running a game, in my humble opinion, you should run a heroic game with good characters. Now, if people want to be evil, let them be evil. You can fit them in, and whatever happens to them will happen to them. Maybe they'll convince everybody to be evil, and then it will become an evil campaign. That's perfectly great. But don't start out telling people that they're evil. Most people won't play evil well. Now, if you want to have a fun evil campaign, make everybody chaotic evil. They're all orcs or trolls or some other horrible chaotic evil monsters. And they could just be attacking towns and villages and doing all these horrible things. And it'll be fun for a short period of time. But what you will find out is people will become very bored with this because there really isn't anything there. It's the machinations of evil that make it fun. The idea that you're thinking and you're staying within the shadows and can you manipulate everything else. And sometimes you're going to find that's just not fun. I mean, if anything else, it begins to feel much more like real life than it does about an adventuring campaign, where if you run a hero, no matter what happens to that hero, you're likely going to really enjoy him. I mean, I've had situations where I've had the most heroic characters die in a heroic way, and they became my favorite characters. Some of you may have heard about, I had a dwarf in one of our campaigns, and he was a troll slayer. He'd lost all his honor. Troll slayers coming from Games Workshop. And to regain his honor, he had to die gallantly. One day we're rescuing some captives from a dungeon, and as we're escaping this giant 247-headed Hydra, you might notice I think I used the same number as I did a number of days, but let's say there were a lot of heads, and Hydras are deadly. My dwarf said, look, I'm going to berserk, which I did, and hold the bridge. You guys all escape with all the prisoners. And I was like, no, we'll fight it off. And I said, no, we'll all die. This is my destiny. I get out there. I fight this Hydra. They get the people away. The Hydra kills me. And I'm lying dead. And it's all great and wonderful. His honor has been restored. And it's all fun. They buried him with great honors in this glass casket. And beneath that, it had the immortal head of the Hydra in mithril armor with his magic weapon and his helms and regalia. And that's where he ended. And he was buried in the deepest burial grounds of his fathers of Thunderhold. It was awesome. It was a great ending of a character. Campaign went on and on and on and on and on. And at the very end of the campaign, many months later, the orcs of Autumno attacked Thunderhold. Dawn was destroying one of my cities that I had for, NPCs and players to go to. The orcs were attacking it, and then, as Dawn explained to me, at some point, the orcs see all this treasure in the burial areas. They decide to have it. They shatter the glass casket to grab the mithril armor, and as they're stripping this dwarf completely naked, he comes back to life. You see, Hydra poison doesn't kill you. It just paralyzes you until the Hydra wants to finish you off and eat you, and my dwarf was essentially in suspended animation. Now, he's naked. They've taken his gear, he's woken up, and all he has to fight with is this Hydra head. So I say, what do you do? Well, I grab the Hydra head, and my naked dwarf is attacking these orcs. Well, they go crazy. Dwarven wraith in the underground. They fled in terror. And Thunderhold was left empty and abandoned. It was just fun. And that made the story really good. It added that next element that you want to add for people that we talk about. You know, death is not a bad thing. Death can often be a great thing. But if you're going to kill a high-level character, you got to do it with some aplomb. There has to be some really cool thing that happens, or something that happens because of his death. Eventually, high-level characters in D&D, not such a big deal. Raise dead, you're back. That's sad. I often like it when characters, find that they can't do that. They have to do something more special. And then when he comes back, maybe there should be a little flaw. Maybe he doesn't remember something, or maybe he's a little different, or it can be anything. But it's always fun to change the narrative a little bit and give characters something more in their character. I think you should let players do whatever they want. I've made this statement. If you want to play Theater of the Mind, you should do it. I mean, it's okay, and I know people really love it, and it's great. And, of course, all role-playing games are at least half Theater of the Mind. And then the rest of it is really cool. Put on my neat miniatures and dungeon tiles, and we have a big battle. And the combination of the two is what makes the game fun and exciting for me. But for most players, it really is the great heroics that make the difference. And that's what makes the game good. Sometimes being a hero means you're not going to make it. And the not making it, but saving the day, might be the best part that's ever happened. It surely has been for me. I have lost so many characters heroically, and I will tell you, those are all the greatest memories I have in the game. The campaigns that went to the end, like the one with Craig, and I was waiting for him to damn me to hell because my character had made these deals. It was a great game. But to tell you the truth, I can't even remember the character's name right now. But where my characters fought to the bitter end and died so that everyone else could live and that the world could go on and things would be wonderful, that's what you want. I mean, I think everybody out there wants to feel like they're on the right side of everything, that they're heroic. The deviation to run the evil characters in D&D, which I did, it was just something different. But as I did it, there was a taste in my mouth that was like, nah. It wasn't that I thought, oh, I'm a bad person. And it wasn't the fact that I was worried that people were upset with me, because frankly, I wasn't. I thought it was hilarious. It's like I said, when I'm a DM and I do things that break someone's heart. Not the death of their character, but the death of their character that's ignominious. Or somehow they've worked so hard and they have no chance. That's where the problem comes. You want the players to really love the game. And if they really love playing evil characters, well, maybe you should get some new friends. Anyhow, it's fun. Do what you want. I love it all anyway. But my suggestion is keep it there heroic. If they want to run evil characters, let them run evil characters. But they get to really move that story forward and become memorable for everybody else. One other thing, and I might cut this part out. If you're going to dislike me, and I understand, there's lots to dislike, tell me why. I mean, I really would like to know. I might change. Okay, I'm not going to change. But I really would like to know. You're not going to hurt my feelings much. But I want to know, because there might be some things I'm unaware of. And I'd like to hear what your negative opinion of me is. And I think you should do that with everybody. Sometimes I'm mystified that when Matt Colville does a really great video, go see his video he did on alignment. It's really, really brilliant. And the idea behind it was the point I said. You should all start with neutrals, because you can shift your alignments while you play. And he lays it out, I think, really well. Much better than I've heard anyone else lay out alignment. So it's fun to watch. But it's on the negatives. He gets tons of them. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your shut-in. I hope this will all be coming to an end soon. We're all talking about going down and doing a protest at the beach because we want to go out in the sun. Who knows how that's going to end up. Maybe you'll have to come bail me out of jail. Until we have a chance to talk to you about gaming, which is the most important thing. Again, fight me, devils, fight. For I hate peace. Game on, everybody. Be safe. Talk to you soon.